Imagine this. You wake up one morning and everything you thought you knew about history is wrong. What if I told you that the year is not 2024 but 1724, and that almost 3 centuries of history never happened? This is the startling premise of the phantom time hypothesis, proposed by German historian Heribert Illig. In 1991, it argues that the years 614 to 911 AD were fabricated and inserted into the historical timeline. This means that figures like Charlemagne, the Carolingian Renaissance, and the Viking raids might be entirely fictional. While it might sound like something out of a science fiction novel, the phantom time hypothesis has gained some traction among those who question conventional historical narratives. It's a fascinating, albeit controversial, theory that makes us re-examine the very fabric of history itself. One of the main arguments for the phantom time hypothesis centers around the figure of Emperor Otto III, a ruler of the Holy Roman Empire. Otto III was obsessed with the year 1000 AD, believing it to be the dawn of a new millennium and a golden age. He even styled himself as a servant of Jesus Christ and Emperor of the last days. However, Illig argues that Otto's obsession with the year 1000 AD was misplaced because the year 1000 AD, according to his calculations, never actually occurred. He suggests that Otto's reign was actually much earlier, and his obsession with the millennium was a deliberate attempt to align his reign with this significant date. Proponents of the phantom time hypothesis also point to what they see as inconsistencies in the archaeological and architectural record. They argue that there's a lack of significant archaeological evidence from the period in question, particularly in Europe. For example, there are very few buildings from this era that can be definitively dated, and many surviving structures seem more advanced than what we might expect for the time. Additionally, they point to the scarcity of artifacts and written records from this era. While it's true that historical sources from this period can be patchy, this is often attributed to the tumultuous nature of the early Middle Ages, a time of frequent invasions and societal upheaval. Another piece of evidence cited by supporters of the hypothesis is the transition from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar. The Julian calendar, established by Julius Caesar, had some inaccuracies that resulted in a gradual drift of the calendar year against the solar year. By the 16th century, this discrepancy had become significant, leading Pope Gregory XIII to commission a reform of the calendar. The Gregorian calendar, which we use today, was implemented in 1582. However, proponents of the phantom time hypothesis argue that this reform was actually an attempt to correct for the missing centuries they propose. Section 5. The scientific perspective. It's important to note that the phantom time hypothesis has been widely rejected by mainstream historians and scientists. From a scientific perspective, there's no evidence to support the idea of a missing 297 years. Dendrochronology, the study of tree rings, allows for precise dating of wooden artifacts and provides a continuous chronology that contradicts the hypothesis. Radiocarbon dating, another reliable scientific method, also refutes the idea of a fabricated period in history. The results of these dating techniques consistently contradict the timeline proposed by the phantom time hypothesis. Section 6. The power of consensus in history. History relies on a vast network of interconnected evidence, from written records and archaeological findings to scientific dating methods. The phantom time hypothesis, while intriguing, fails to provide any concrete evidence to support its claims. It also ignores the vast body of historical research and scientific data that contradicts its central premise. History is not simply a collection of dates and events, it's a complex tapestry woven together by countless threads of evidence. The phantom time hypothesis attempts to unravel this tapestry by removing a significant portion of it, leaving behind gaps and inconsistencies that cannot be reconciled with the broader historical narrative. Section 7. Debunking the myth. Evidence to the contrary. The phantom time hypothesis falls apart when we consider the wealth of evidence that contradicts it. For instance, astronomical records from ancient civilizations like the Chinese and the Maya provide independent confirmation of historical events during the supposedly fabricated period. These records, meticulously kept and corroborated by modern astronomical calculations, align perfectly with the established historical timeline. Furthermore, the hypothesis fails to account for the cultural and technological developments that occurred during the period in question. The evolution of language, art, architecture, and social structures cannot be simply erased or compressed into a shorter time frame. The phantom time hypothesis, in essence, asks us to disregard a significant portion of human history without providing any compelling reason to do so. Section 8. The importance of critical thinking. While the phantom time hypothesis has been widely debunked, it serves as a reminder of the importance of critical thinking, especially when encountering alternative theories. It highlights the need to scrutinize evidence, question assumptions, and consider multiple perspectives. The internet age has given rise to a proliferation of information, both accurate and inaccurate. It's crucial to approach information with a healthy dose of skepticism, especially when it challenges established knowledge. By engaging in critical thinking, we can distinguish between fact and fiction, ensuring that our understanding of the world is based on evidence and reason. Section 9. Conclusion: reality or elaborate fabrication. The phantom time hypothesis, while a fascinating thought experiment, ultimately lacks any credible evidence to support its extraordinary claims. The historical record, corroborated by scientific dating methods and astronomical observations, paints a consistent and continuous timeline that contradicts the idea of a fabricated period in history. While the hypothesis may continue to intrigue those seeking alternative explanations of the past, it serves as a reminder of the importance of relying on evidence-based conclusions and the dangers of accepting extraordinary claims without extraordinary proof. The true history of humanity, with all its complexities and nuances, is far more fascinating and awe-inspiring than any fabrication.